There's nothing like that StreamYard music. What's up, everyone? It's KB. And if you're like me, you love movies too. Welcome to another episode of The Conversation. I'm kind of like ebb and flow lately. It's kind of like I give you like one or two, and then all of a sudden you won't hear from me for a week or two. I'm still here, but we got to take some time to watch the movies too. So, been trying to do that, trying to keep up with this Unwrapped series that I'm trying to do where I don't let these things sit in the cellophane too long. I want to open them up and get to them. I just got my Shout Select sale haul in, and I'm still trying to decide if I want to make a video about that. I'd rather show it to you in an episode of Unwrapped. That way you know I actually watched the movie. So we'll see. Still more to come, just to let you know. Something else that we're going to be doing is we also have the new audio-only podcast coming out. Just filmed the first filmed. See how used I am to saying that? Just recorded the first episode, and I have a great idea for episode 2 coming up. So I will announce that on social media platforms and let you know exactly what we're doing and when we're doing it. But on this episode of The Conversation, we're going to welcome a physical media collector that I've been following for a while. Great guy, YouTuber like myself, and he hosts a weekly live stream called This Week in Physical Media. It's usually on a Monday. He's also a big Criterion collector, and lately has been enjoying getting into the boutique labels, which is always nice to see. And he has a thing for arrangement. That's what I'll just say. But we'll find out how much as we welcome DJ from Films by Color to the conversation. What's up?
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Sure, it's something I've been wanting to do ever since I came across your channel. Those YouTube recommendations. It's like, oh, he seems to be into this plastic collecting as well. So maybe he'll like this channel. And I don't even remember how long ago but I've been following it long enough to keep up with either the live streams or the videos. Always energetic and informative, which I like. I like seeing you go out with your wife and your friends to like pick up stuff. So it's sad. It's sad that we have less places to go these days as far as like doing physical hauls.
Slim pickings, man. Slim pickings out there, but we're trying to make do with. I feel like we're just going to the same Barnes and Nobles over and over, but we're running out. And
Yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna enjoy it while it lasts, I guess.
yeah, for sure. But at least you got a nice Barnes and Nobles. I know some places don't even have a physical media section, or it's been
Mhm.
taken over by vinyl and puzzles and Legos.
Yeah,
And you're like, do you have the arrow sale going on? So
yeah. You don't want to be the guy that has to ask, and it's
yeah.
awkward.
And then they're like, what? You want arrows? So we're just gonna talk movies tonight, man. It's one thing that we have in common. As I watch your videos, I see we have a lot of stuff in common, and I'll
Oh, I'm
mention a few of
excited.
them as we go along. But we are not alone, so I want to see who's joining the chat so far. If you're just coming in and you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time here, welcome. We like to keep the chat live. Feel free, if you have any questions for DJ or myself relating to movies, please jot it down in the chat. Otherwise, just keep the chat going. Let's see who's joining us before we get into the questions. Let's see. We have Agent James on the check-in saying hello there. How are you, sir? Good to see you as always. We got Steve Moody saying hi, KB and DJ and AJ, Adrian James, all the initials. Dope. Here you are saying hello to everyone. We got my man Gunchi checking in from Taiwan. How's it going, man? Good to see you as always. We got Mr. Tony, Basement Blues in the house. Good to see you, sir. Good evening. Talking about good evening, we got Hollow Notes on the check-in, as well as Brother Dell. What's up? Dell, put in the chat. Are you gonna get that Shout Factory Blaxploitation Classics Volume 1? Because I'm looking at the budget and I'm like, can I swing that and the Nightmare Steelbook set? because I might have to make a hard choice if I have to pick between the two. So let me know if you're getting it. Let's see. Everyone's saying hi to each other. We got Movie Hunter 2020 in the house. He is Mr. Steelbook, if you don't know him. Pretty much every U.S. Steelbook release he has.
Oh man.
Yeah, all the studios, all the boutiques, U.S. And I think he crossed upon a couple of times too. So I always forget. Dell adds that he's been following you for a while as well. So always nice to see that. If you haven't done so already, I'm going to put it in the description if I haven't already. But Films by Color, it's easy to find him. Follow him on all the platforms. Any differences? Letterbox, all that stuff the same?
Everything's the same except for Letterbox. Letterbox is just my name, DJ
Yeah,
Martinez. But
yeah.
yeah.
That's always the one that's a little bit off for people.
Yeah, I always think about like maybe I should change it just for like branding, but then
Yeah,
I don't. Everyone else just has their name on there, so I would feel weird having
yeah,
a moniker on that platform. But yeah,
yeah,
it's DJ for now.
yeah. That works. We got Princey on the check-in. Nice to see you too, man. Happiness, loyalty, respect always. Love you, man. We got Slipmaker, new face in the house. Howdy, howdy, everyone. Love the home theater tour. Yes, I watched it earlier today. DJ put up a new video today, which I was just joking with him backstage saying he took away one of my questions, but I have another one in its place. It's okay.
Well, we'll
I
see if
know
I can.
somebody would bring this up.
Uh
Yeah, Dell, no fitted tonight. I don't have my crown on. I just came from the barber. My homegirl Morgan hooked me up. She gave me like the full hot towel treatment. So I'm like, it's too nice to put on a fitted tonight. No Yankees fitted tonight, but you know me. It'll come back. The crown is never far away. Let's see. DJ and I shop at St. Barnes and Noble. Okay. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
hoping to bump into him one day and his wife as well. Cool. Yeah.
As often
So
as I'm there, it's surprising that we haven't bumped in already.
you'll catch him during July and November for sure. For sure. And
Yeah.
we'll talk a little bit about the why in that as well. But yeah, I know he's met up with James from 20th and 21st Movies there. I don't know how many other people he's met there. So hey, you guys get on Instagram and coordinate something. I always like to see people doing meetups together within the community. That's always cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I need
Uh,
to get better at that. There's several people here in Georgia that I need to meet up with.
yeah, yeah. Another comment about it. Nice to see KB without the Yankees hat. Okay, have fun, guys. We got Jeff in the house saying good evening. Good evening to you, sir. Always good to see you. Uh, DJ, I bet your movie collection number is approximately 1 million. Hmm, we'll
Not
ask him about that. We'll get a more
not as
accurate
big
number.
as you might think, especially compared to other people on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Let's see. It would be more awesome and hilarious, Tony, if you bumped into each other shopping for hair products. That would be funny because I could see why DJ would be, but Tony, that would be the joke. That would be the joke. Prince, you're starting with the questions already. I like that. We're going to come back to them. Let's see. Haven't decided on the black exploitation set. It's a nice chunk of change. It is, but I mean, it's 12 discs if you include the Blu-rays, and I don't know for sure. I have to look in to see if there's different features on the 4K versus the Blu-ray, but if there are, that makes it more worth it. But really, you're looking at what, 6, 7 movies for 145. It is a lot. Steve ordered it. Pam Grier in 4K, no brainer for me. True. Coffee, good one. I will ask you this one: did you snag Gummo on Criterion, DJ?
I haven't picked that up yet. I don't know, man. That sounds like an interesting movie. I haven't. That might be one I have to watch first before
Yeah,
before
yeah.
I buy it. I feel like it's a love it or hate it kind of movie.
It is. There are certain movies, especially within the last year on Criterion. I tell people maybe you want to see if you could rent it, go to the library or something. Gummo's one of them. Happiness is another one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
You might want to check that out before you invest at 20 or $25, whatever it is. Pop Culture 33 saying hello. What's up to you? Let's see. Love DJ Soda home theater video today. Got to get a nice Atmos setup. Yes, we will talk speaker
Yes.
upgrades off
Good.
air.
I need some help in that department, so I'm looking
And
forward
I
to it.
just hope from now, I haven't met the lovely Grace, but I hope she doesn't hate me for my suggestions. That's all I'm saying. It's going to bring hours of pleasure for the whole family, kids alike. All right, keep them coming. We got Jane Doe in here. What's going on? Good evening to you as well. Let's see. See? Don't subject yourself to come up. Yes, we got Jeff's mom in here. Cool. We'll get back to your questions and chat. Just keep it coming. But I do want to get into some of these questions. So, as I was saying, we were going to ask DJ about his home theater and everything, but he just perfect timing. He came out with a video today, so definitely hit up Films by Color on YouTube and check out his home theater tour. Nice. We have the same 4K player,
Hmm.
and it is partially a projector, but it's also your 4K player because I'll give you a good example. One of the reasons I wanted to upgrade mine, I had a Sony as well, probably the same model as you, and I would play Warner Brothers 4Ks like The Dark Knight, and it was so loud. You would hear the disc spinning. So I said, I wonder if the Panasonic would do that. So Oscar Sunday I threw in The Dark Knight, which is a tradition for me anyway, and it was totally quiet. But as soon as that first IMAX scene popped up, it felt like I'd never watched it at home before. I was like, whoa, this
Nice.
looks totally different than on my other players. So there is a certain amount of upscaling that it does, whether it's Blu-ray or 4K or what have you. So it's a really good player. And as you mentioned in your video, it also does region B if you know how to do the hack and everything. So I really like it.
That button trick has saved me many times because I buy a lot of Region B stuff, so
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
nice.
it is. It's a great player. The Epson is solid. So good choices there. But since we can't ask him about the home theater, you just got to go and watch it, the tour. I do want to bring up my daughter who lives with me. Shout out to the third KB. She is a fan of your channel, and it's
Oh wow.
basically because of the love of the color arrangement, which is the whole aspect behind the thing. So, the question that you probably get the most often, we're just going to put it out there to begin things. I saw the tour the other day, and the OCD in me kind of went kind of crazy because even within the whites, they're not alphabetical, they're not criteria numbered, they're like, so how do you figure out where a certain movie is, even by color? I might know a spine, but I would have to have it in alphabetical order. How do you figure it out?
Yeah, so they are 100% in color. So like you can see the orange goes from dark orange to light orange because
Hmm.
otherwise it would be kind of pointless because they might all be orange, but then it's like all it doesn't look good anyway. So
Right.
I had to go with the gradient. Um, but I don't know, man. I've never had an issue with it. I'm a really visual. I'm a very visual person. I'm a
Mhm.
designer by trade. That's what I do.
Oh,
So I think my memory is just triggered by visuals by color because I can usually pretty much always remember what the spine number or spine color is. And on the rare occasion that I don't, I have all my movies entered into a database app on my phone, and I just tag them with the color when I add them in. So all I got to
ah,
all I got to do is just search for it, and then I see it right there. It takes just a couple seconds, so it's not
nice.
crazy. But I usually don't need to do that. I don't know. It's just I've been doing it for a long time, so I guess I'm just used to looking for them that way. But
Yeah.
it's kind of faster than alphabetical for me because I know exactly what I can picture it in my head, so I can just go straight to it. Whereas if it's alphabetical, you kind of have to like trace along, like oh,
Hmm.
B's are like somewhere over here, and then you have to go like this. Whereas I know the Marx Brothers is that color, or I know Willy Wonka is this shade of purple, and I can just go straight to that part of the shelf. So it works
And
for me. I know a lot of people think it's crazy, but it's fun.
no, it's not, because she said to me, she said, even if you were to do something like that and you just had your collection like totally random, like my wife still doesn't understand how I have things down here because we're getting ready to plan a trip. And she said, oh, it'd be really cool if we just watch some classics or, some movies that we haven't seen in a while. I was like, oh, so we're going to take the Cary Grant collection because we haven't gone through that completely. And she went like this. how do I find it? I said, well, you walk down, and to the left of the DVDs, and to the right of the Blu-rays. You can't really go into the 4Ks, but some of them have Blu-rays, and if you keep going, you're going to be in the boutiques. And she's like, why don't you just pick what you want to bring?
See, I don't have to do that. Grace can just shout, "What color is it?" And then I'll just say, "It's in the greens," and then she'll just find it and bring it out. That's all we got
That's
to
awesome. That's
do.
awesome. I do want
My kids are getting it. Like my kids know, like
to. Hmm.
they'll want to watch a Disney movie or something, and then Judah will be like, "Oh, it's in like Robin Hood is in the greens. That's one of his favorites," and he'll just go grab it off the shelf. So
That's
it's
nice.
it's fun.
That's nice. That they I like when we didn't even call it a collection back then. It was just a library. But
Hmm.
when my kids were younger, and whether it was the VHS tapes, which that wasn't that big for, their Disney clamshells and whatnot, but the DVDs, they knew like they had their shelves and it was high enough for them to reach and they could just go and grab. And I try to keep it in order, but kids, that's all you got to say is kids. But they knew the spine color and everything. So if the kids could do it, we could do it. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
As far as your collection, compared to like, I think your room tour, you recently did one, but your room tour before that was like 2 years ago. You had space back then,
Hmm.
not as much right now. So, what are your plans for when you run out of space besides consolidation, which I know you're going to try to do, but what are you going to do when you run out of space within the room?
Yeah, there's a lot of consolidation that needs to be done. We got to get rid of because I've been collecting since I was in high school, early college. So I have a ton of
Yeah.
stuff that I was into then that I'm not really into now. I don't think I'm going to watch again. But Grace and I have talked about it, and I think this is just going to stay like because it's the background for my videos. So it's going to stay like the display shelves. I'll put the colorful stuff there, and then I'll slowly start, pulling off just like the standard cases or like the black cases, stuff that doesn't really look good on camera. And I'm gonna have to get like another shelf somewhere in the house, and we don't really know where that's gonna be yet. We've talked about
Yeah.
putting some stuff in the theater. We have like a big storage closet in that theater. Like all the whole left side over there is a closet that runs through, and we've talked about putting a shelf in there. I can always put. I mean, we got tons of space in the house in other places that I can store stuff. Even like other walls in this office, I could store stuff. But I do want to keep like the aesthetically pleasing stuff back there because if I'm gonna pay money for it, I'm gonna watch it, of course, but I'm also gonna
Right.
get a nice background out of it for the videos at least. But yeah, we've talked about it. There's gonna be some consolidating, but also some backup shelves somewhere else. We
Yeah.
gotta eventually do that. And there is some stuff already down in the cabinets down there, like stuff that I've already pulled
Ah,
that I plan on getting rid of. There's a bunch of stuff down there already.
yeah.
So,
So,
but that is an issue. I mean, we
I'm
all have
sorry.
that issue. We all run out of space at some point. There's only so much room in the house.
I wanted to show you this because she shared this with me and she wanted to know if you were a fan of the home edit. Do you know what the home edit is?
I do not know what the home edit is. This a TikTok thing.
It, yeah, and
I'm
they're
not up on my
obsessed with
TikTok
like
trends.
colors and just like putting things by colors. And I mean, she sent me like a couple of videos, but this is the one that I was like, oh my gosh, there's another one with like their vegetable drawer and it's by colors. And I'm like, well, one, kudos for you eating all those vegetables and having all those colors in your diet. But it's just amazing how much people get into it.
This is not what my pantry looks like, by the way. I don't do it everywhere. I do movies. I sometimes do books, like in the kids' playroom. We'll kind of put those by color because it looks
Yeah.
nice. And I mean, that's about it. Maybe my clothes in the closet, but I don't do my snacks by color. Maybe I should be. They're probably blowing up on TikTok for that.
Hey, you never know. There's something there waiting for you. I just found that like super interesting. Like there's people that do that, and some people that actually need to do that, need that level of organization in their life. So I don't know. I do have a home theater question for you. What are some of the channels that you do follow as far as home theater? I know you say you're not super into it, but what are some that you do follow?
You mean like YouTube channels about home theater specifically?
Hmm.
Ooh, I don't know if I follow any. I mostly just follow like physical media collectors on YouTube. Um, which you've probably already heard of. Like we were talking about Mid-Level Media. He's great. He's one of my
Yeah.
favorites. Um, the granddaddy Jeff, obviously he's the biggest. I used to follow him a lot. What's the one In Search of Physical Media? He's blown up lately. He's like
Yeah.
really big. I love his breakdowns of new 4Ks.
Hmm.
He's talked me into buying a couple 4K upgrades that I wasn't necessarily planning on buying, but he does a good job of selling those.
Yeah. I think it's fair play. You've talked a few people into Criterions, I'm sure.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I apologize to your wallets. Yeah, people like curse me in the comments on those videos for like making them
Huh.
spend money. I mean jokingly, not
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
actually angrily, but yeah, I'm just talking about stuff I like. If it makes you want to buy it, so be it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's the downside of following all these people because I've definitely picked up a bunch of stuff. You got Steelbook obsessed Jake over there.
Someone just
Getting a
mentioned
hundred
that.
new he's getting 100 new copies a week from the studios, and I'm like, man, I want all those, but
Yeah.
I got no space for that.
That brings up a looming question slash topic.
Ooh, ominous.
Um, the people, and I know that you're starting to get into that realm, whether it's a giveaway or
Hmm.
promotional things and all that. But there's a level of I want to say it's partially jealousy. Some people don't understand the difference between marketing versus being paid for a review.
Hmm.
Um, it's just to me. I said I had a Q&A on New Year's Eve, and I just said it's toxic because at the end of the day, it should be. I don't know if it's like this for everyone, but it should be about the movies. If you notice, my hashtag down there is hashtag I love movies. That's kind of like my MO for the year because it doesn't matter if it's sitting on your shelf for 2 days or 5 years and you finally get around to watching it. It should all be about the movies. Whether it's an
Hmm.
old DVD copy or VHS copy, that's hot and booming again, or if it's the latest 4K of something, it should still be about the movies. How do you see about that? And have you experienced any of that personally, like for real instead of jokes?
Yeah, that'll be the test this night, is if you can tell if I'm joking or not. Because a lot of people don't realize when I'm joking because I'm very dry. But I totally hear what you're saying. I only buy things that I do intend to watch.
Hmm.
I am a big proponent of, like, I love me a box set. I love packaging, but I only buy it for a movie that I do intend to watch. And like you said, sometimes it's not right away. Sometimes I'll buy a goofy movie, not the goofy movie, but a silly movie
Yeah.
that I'm like, this will be a really fun movie to watch. Like, have some friends over, have a couple drinks, watch a goofy movie that I know is not great, but it's going to be
Hmm.
fun. I've done that with a couple friends of mine. We have like a running fantasy movie night that started with the Conan box set that came out from Arrow last year. Those were movies I had never seen, but I was like, I've always wanted to watch these, and I'm just gonna grab it. And then we watched it. And it was great, and I didn't regret
Yeah.
it at all. So those kind of movies I will pick up, and maybe it, like you said, maybe it sits on the shelf for a while. And like all of us, I do have some guilt about that sometimes. Like, I've bought too many things, then I haven't got to enough of it yet. But I think as long as you intend to watch it, you go through phases or moods, and it's nice to have stuff on the shelf. Like, there'll be times recently, Grace just out of nowhere was like, I really want to watch that Kevin Costner Robin Hood movie again. I really want to watch Prince of Thieves, like out of nowhere.
So good.
You know this. You're a a lover. Like, you just have these urges sometimes to watch something, and it's right
Hmm.
there. So I try not to feel too guilty if I buy something, and I don't get around to it, because it'll be there someday when I need it.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I don't get too hung up on it. Um, I've lost the plot at this point. I forgot what your like second part of that question was.
Jealousy,
Oh yeah, like
people being,
the FOMO aspect of it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that can be a problem if you're buying stuff just because it's valuable. Then I don't like that. But I will say, just to push back a little bit, I there's some of us that are just collectors. Like,
Mm.
in our heart of hearts, I just like collecting things. Like, and
Yeah.
if I wasn't collecting movies, I would be collecting something else. Like, I remember when I was what 7 years old, my parents had a karate studio growing up, and right next door was a card shop. And I would go. Remember those? Remember there was whole stores that were for
Oh
trading
my.
cards, and it was I would go over there, and they had a little bouncy ball machine, and I was like 6 or 7, and I started a bouncy ball collection. I would go over and get one like every day for a quarter, and I had like a shoebox full of bouncy balls. And then I moved up to trading cards, and then I moved up to like Pokemon cards and action figure. I was just always collecting as even as a kid. So like
Yeah.
if I wasn't collecting movies, I would be collecting something else. So I don't blame people who are just collectors that want to buy movies. I feel like there's a hang up in the movie collect. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. I feel like
No,
there's
no,
a
you're
hang up.
good.
This
It's
is
called a conversation for a reason.
this is
Please
something I
talk.
this is something I think about a lot. I feel like there is a little bit of a stigma in the movie collecting community specifically, where we get real snobby about it, and we don't let collectors be collectors.
Yeah.
There's so many other collecting communities. Like no one yells at stamp collectors for not using stamps for what they're
Hmm.
supposed to be used for. Nobody yells at coin collectors for not using their coins. Like
Yeah.
you, if someone loves a movie and they want to buy 3 or 4 copies of that movie because they really love that movie and they're not watching those specific ones, like that's fine. Like let them love what they love. I don't like the people that like are yelling at people in the comments for not watching. It's all about the watching. It's all about the movies. Like I think there's both sides of it. I think yes, we
Okay.
love movies. This is why we do it. But also, some people like to collect stuff that they love. It brings them joy to,
Yeah.
take the box down and flip through the booklet and stuff. I don't know. I see both sides of it. That's
Yeah.
all.
It's funny you said that, and I just started to backtrack, and I've collected pretty much all through my life that I can remember. I see a bouncy ball, and I think back to like M&M contests to see how many wrappers you could collect, or stamps. I did have a stamp collection,
Yeah,
or
that's awesome.
comic books, or when I was a DJ, and I would buy vinyl to play, but I would collect CDs, and I had a large CD collection. I went through my sneakerhead phase, and how many dead stock uh, kicks can you have? And then all of a sudden, my library of movies became a collection again,
Mhm.
and now I have more and more furniture in my basement, and I need another one right now because, as you can see, I have like movies this way when it should be in a shelf. So yeah, I think I've always had that collector mindset as well, but minus the stamps, I think I've used them in some way. I've rocked my kicks, I've played my CDs, I've watched my movies. So I see a little bit of both worlds. I see it from both aspects of what you're saying for sure.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. For me personally, it has to
Hmm.
be useful. Like I only collect things that I intend to use, like movies and books. But I don't judge other people for just wanting to collect. Like if you collect action figures and you just stand them up on the shelf and that's
Yeah,
it, like that's fine. That brings you joy. It's your money. Do what you
yeah,
want to do with it.
Funkos, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I know we got some stuff in the comments about this, so let me just take a
Sorry,
quick look.
I'm already
I,
getting them mad at me.
No, 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 no. It's all love here, and if not, they could leave. Let's see. Adrian saw the new Lilo and Stitch trailer. I saw like a little still of that um, sometime before, and I was like, oh, looks interesting. We got a new check-in here. Bailey saying hello, everyone.
Oh,
Hello,
Bailey
Bailey.
popped over. She's from my channel. Hey, Bailey, how's it going?
Thank you for coming to the conversation. Hope you stick around and enjoy what you see and hear. We got Eddie. How's it going, man? Haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you. Who else on the check-in? Let's see. That color setup is awesome to look at, but I'd never find anything. You'd be surprised, bro. You'd be surprised. Like, I know I want to see Jaws. It's going to be red lettering on white background. Boom. Or you have the 4K Steelbook. It's going to be blue on light blue lettering. Boom. So you'd be surprised how quickly you find stuff. And I think there's a little bit of muscle memory involved as well. You could tell me different, DJ, from placing something on a shelf. Because
Mm.
you're excited when you get it in. You got it from the store, or as we are about to talk about, a boutique label or whatever, and you're happy to like file it away into the collection, add it to the collection. So I think there's a little muscle memory involved.
Yeah, it's a little ritual every time you get something. You put it in the app, you
Hmm.
put it in the place. It's nice.
Very true. Going back to when we were talking about the kids only get digital copies to use until they're old enough. My version of that used to be I used to make them DVD copies for them to play in their rooms or in their little portable DVD players in a car because it's like, I don't know if we're gonna get away with a little more operation into care and sharing before we just let you guys. Because I'm outnumbered. I had three at once, so it was a little bit different. Yes, Billini, I saw you earlier. I've been a regular viewer of DJ Show, and I make it a mandatory Monday ritual. That's awesome. He's that good. He is. DJ
Thank you.
brought me here and immediately subscribed. Thank you again. I saw that earlier. I'm really liking your show. Thank you. I really
Hey,
appreciate that.
thanks,
We got
Bloody.
we got Patrick in the house saying what's up.
Oh, Patrick Williams.
He liked the video with the snacks by color. Yes, thank you, Jeff. Rock it hard. Rock it hard. Talking about the home theater channels, I had to unfollow home theater channels. They always wanted me to upgrade, even though I don't need to. I had to stop. Hey, we could do that too. Sometimes, a good example is the Man Without a Name trilogy, the Clint Eastwood westerns. So Good, Bad, Ugly, Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more. That just came out again, and I was just appreciating my Kino. I'm like, am I going to double dip on a 4K with movies that I watch maybe once a year if possible? Probably not. Frank, Frank's Media and Reviews, we were talking about that earlier. I said, I don't think I'm going to do that double dip, but it happens. It happens on all types of YouTube channels, not just home theaters, but theirs are just a lot more expensive.
Yeah, those are nice box sets. I didn't get the Kinos, so I'm tempted to pick them up. But it does suck whenever there's a restoration going around, and they
Hmm.
keep getting different versions from different studios. Like
Yeah,
something will come out from Australia, either imprint or Umbrella, and then people will buy it, and then it'll come to America for much cheaper. And it's
yeah,
like, well, dang it, I just spent $60 on $70, 80 bucks to get it shipped over here,
yeah.
and then you get a nicer version.
You see that a lot with Studio Canal, and then next thing you know, the Criterion
Mm.
license comes to the U.S. and it's literally the same transfer,
Yeah, or
and the only
Lionsgate.
difference are the features. And you're like, damn, I want the features too.
Or the Lionsgate, the only difference between the Studio Canal Lionsgate is the packaging. Like it's the
Yeah,
same discs and it's the same booklet and everything. Like the
Third
inserts and
Man.
everything are the same.
That's
Yeah.
that's the one eating me right now because I missed out, and I could probably get it used or a slightly damaged of the one that came out in the UK, or I could get the Lionsgate Limited. I do like that's one of my favorite noirs. So I do like the music
Same.
box opening and everything. Talking about being a collector,
Oh,
I
and
I
it's one of the best
splurge for
scores.
yeah. I
So good.
splurge for the movies that I really love. So that would be one of them for sure.
Yeah.
Tony says, I will not upgrade equipment until something just quits working. Yeah, that's probably the best thing. It's kind of like be content with what you have for sure. I won the Little Darlings from DJ. I love that one.
Oh yeah, I did a giveaway. A friend of mine gave me a copy specifically to give away, and I'm glad you got it. Pop Culture. It's a wonderful movie.
That's cool. Tony adds, I'm 100% a collector and go over the top, but it is fun. Yeah. And Tony was one of my first guests when I first started doing the conversation. And even back then, he discussed that, if you think back, for some of us, there were days when we couldn't, or some people had to sell their collections just to make ends meet and prioritize things like family and, making bills and whatnot. So if you got a little extra, I'm not one for watching other people's pocket. So
Yeah,
the way you spend your money, awesome. Great. I don't believe in that FOMO stuff. It's like do whatever you can. Do whatever you
absolutely.
can.
As long as it's healthy and you're being responsible, you got to take care of your family first.
Yep.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah. Dell adds, I freely admit my jealousy, but I'm also happy for those who are so lucky. I got no time for that type of toxic. Yeah, that's it. That is it. We all have a little bit of green in us, but at the same time, it's not to the level where I'm like hating on people. It's like no time for that. It's not that serious. Let's see. Yeah, there's my daughter. That's the one that follows you. Records to movies. That was me. That was me. And now I have like one of those Billy bookcases, and I could easily loaded up with vinyl, and I'm like, nope, not getting back into that narcotic. It is dangerous, you know. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just collect like soundtracks and scores for movies. Nope, 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 nope.
Yeah, I've had the exact same thing. I've tossed around the idea because I'd love to get like a little shelf in the theater and have a
Yeah.
record player in there and just have scores and soundtracks in there.
Hmm.
But then I look up the scores for the movies I like that are all out of print and they're on eBay
Slippery
for like
slope.
hundreds of dollars. I'm like, oh,
Woo!
never mind.
Slippery
I
slope.
can't do this.
For sure, it is a slippery slope. Uh, Pop culture adds, my jealousy is of people in different stages of life. Okay. Like I have two kids, so hard to watch what I want to watch or time. I'm trying to live in the moment. Uh, Soon they would be out of the house. Yes, that's another thing we were talking about backstage. It's a moment in time. It's a moment in time. Believe me, I have three kids now in their 20s, and I'm actually thinking about things like it's going to be Easter. Maybe they'll all be here. And when they're together, and of course, the conversations are a little bit different than when they were in elementary and middle school, but you see them, and all of a sudden you're flashing back to when they were young, and you realize how finite that time is. So enjoy the moment. You will have time to watch movies, Lord willing. You will have many a nights where you're like, "Ugh, I could actually watch two movies tonight without falling asleep on myself." So enjoy the kids while you can. The movies will be there. And keep building your collection.
Hmm.
That's for sure. Can't justify double dipping. Yeah, too many great films to get all together. Yep, I hear you. Keep hoping for new titles to get the limelight. I think we live in a great age as physical media collectors with, titles that we've never heard about, or things that have been stuck on DVD, and all of a sudden it's like we get 4Ks of them. Some of them you're like, why does this have a 4K? But then other times you're like, I am so happy. And then for people who are older, who remembers whether it's 70s, 80s, 90s, now it's like a nostalgia period, like if you get like a TMNT, or us getting anniversary editions like last year, Purple Rain. I was a teenager when that came out. I was too young to even go to the theater, and I was watching a couple movies with my wife, and I said, we were ready to like go up, the dogs were getting restless, and I said, give me 10 minutes of your time. And she's like, all right, just put on whatever. And I put on like the intro to Purple Rain, which, she was like 13, 14 when that came out. And she's like, this looks and sounds awesome, because I was blasting it and whatnot. And then I threw in North by Northwest, and I went to the UN scene to show her that. And she's like, oh, this is pretty. I was like, yeah, it looks good. And she's like, but I don't remember this part in the movie. And she started asking me questions. I turned it off. I was like, you need to just rewatch the whole thing. You just need to rewatch the whole thing. uh,
Yeah, no, I'm with that. I don't double dip a lot. Like you said, if it's a really really old movie that's like a bare bones Blu-ray, and there's a really nice boutique that comes out, like maybe.
mhm.
But normally I'm not super tempted by that because most of the stuff I'm buying is stuff I've never seen, like is new stuff these days. Because
Yeah,
that's really what I'm passionate about, is like learning about new stuff. So
yeah. I've slowed down on a lot of the studio titles, because it's very easy to say, "Oh man, I loved Long Legs last year. Let me buy the 4K."
hmm.
But one, you just saw it. Two, would you be tempted to watch it again before the price falls? It's kind of like, why don't you wait until you want to watch it? And as much as we hate Amazon for steelbooks, they're quick with a slipcase or whatever, whatever it is. So like, I didn't upgrade my Alien 79 to 4K. I just had my Blu-rays, and I said, I feel like watching that, and I just, whatever it was, 9.99, 11.99, and Amazon Prime, it was here in 2 days, and I was able to watch it. But I wouldn't have upgraded that until it was time to rewatch it. I know I wanted to do it, but it was kind of like a one-day thing, not just immediately as soon as it came out. So I'm doing that more with studios, so that my budget is more focused on boutiques and maybe the few steelbooks that I definitely want for day one.
Yeah, yeah, I'm exactly the same boat. We used to like watch all the Oscar movies in like January, February, like catch up, and then we buy
Mhm.
them all when they came out, and then we wouldn't watch them for the rest of the year because we just watched them. So it was kind
Yeah,
of a waste. So yeah, we hold off, and then in a year or two, it's like, oh, I really want to watch that again. Then we'll pick it up then.
yeah. I have no reason to run out and buy Wicked.
Yeah. Well,
I've seen
my
it.
wife watched that movie like 4 times already, so she did buy that one the day it came out because she loves that movie.
But then by November, the second one will be out. They'll probably have a 2-pack, and I could wait. I could
Yeah,
wait.
I'm with you.
Couple more comments, and we'll get back into the questions. Criticizing and shaming pertaining to collecting, watching partly from the commenters' own insecurities and catch-ups on arbitrary rules they project on other film lovers. That happens way too often. Way too often, for sure. Patrick adds, we know Arrow is usually top notch with that rigid hard box. Yeah, the chunky box sets, as we call them. And they put something special on it. They do look nice thinking about getting it. Yeah, yeah. That happens a lot. And I'm like, you're getting more into boutiques. So have you gotten into Second Sight yet?
Luckily, there's not a lot of crossover with my. I'm not the biggest horror guy, and most
Right.
of what they do is horror. So luckily for my wallet, I don't
Hmm.
have too much of their. But I have
Yeah.
gotten into them. I have a couple. I have the ones that no one's heard of. I have the Color of Pomegranates from
Yeah.
Second Sight back there. I really want to get the what is there's a Berlin Alexanderplatz release
Hmm.
of from Second Sight. There's a couple other. The one I want the most, like it's probably the top of my list right now for Holy Grails, is the Picnic at Hanging Rock from Second Sight.
Yeah.
That was
That's
a
a beautiful set.
beautiful set, and it went out of print so
So
fast,
fast.
and it's like
So
two
fast.
hundred dollars on eBay right
Oof.
now. It's ridiculous.
Oof.
I can't go
Uh,
that high.
let's see. A couple more by movies to watch, and others are for retirement in a couple of years. Yeah, that's fair. At least you'll still have it in your possession. I will say I do get annoyed at completionist types who keep limited editions they don't like or won't watch again. Some people need that. Some people need that, they can't see one, two, three, five.
Yeah,
And it doesn't matter if four sucks or, they have to have four.
yeah.
It's not necessarily me, but I understand.
I'm glad I don't have that in me because that would be dangerous. But no, I do get a little annoyed to see all the, like, especially if they don't even open them.
Hmm.
Like you see all these things on eBay for like hundreds of dollars that isn't even, it's still sealed. Like you just bought that to sell it. Like that's not cool.
Yeah.
But if you actually do get joy out of it, at least open it up and
Yeah. But like you're
watch it.
saying, some people get joy just out of looking at it. Who knows?
That's bizarre to me. But
Yeah.
but whatever floats your boat.
I don't know, Prince. I have records here. I have records in Florida. I have records everywhere. So, uh, does rebuying a movie that you've lost, had stolen, broken count as a double or triple dip? No, it's not in your possession anymore. Do not ask me how many times I bought Star Wars. We are not discussing that tonight. You could come down here and count. They're all here, VHS included. Let's see. I watch 10 movies a week, living the good life, baby. Yeah, lucky you. Some people would die for that time. Laren! DJ and KB and DJ, what a combo. Good evening, my man. How's it going? Everyone's saying Laren, Laren, Laren. Yeah, shots fired. She's just being a little fart there. I'll leave her alone. Let's see. All right, I got to get into these questions. Let's see.
Uh-oh.
Thank you. Hold your tongue. I saw Wicked in the theater and just bought it. I'll buy it. That's the thing. I know I will buy it, but did I need to run out and get it day one? No, because I'm going to see it again. Good night, Tony. What time was that? 7:41. Maybe you're still here. Have a good night, sir. I know you get up nice and early. Enjoy your walk in the morning. Let's see. Everyone's saying good night to Tony. Collect the movie man. Hello. How's it going, sir? Good to see you. I'll come back. I'll stop right here at this one because I do want to get back into these questions. I have so many questions for this guy. Let's see.
Uh-oh.
Ooh. So I normally don't delve into like the numbers as we were talking before, but being a fellow Criterion lover, to the point, like some people wait for the sales. I know you don't necessarily, and you will go and thrift for Criterions and come up with some good buys. I have to say that. But if you had to approximate, if you had to guesstimate, how many titles do you have under the Criterion Collection? How many would you say?
Ooh, that's a great question. I wish I had looked on my app before I did this. I can't use I use my phone as my camera, so I can't use my phone when I'm on here.
No worries.
But it's I don't know if it's quite 400. It's around 400.
Yeah.
It's getting up there. And part of that was because I don't know if you were following me when this happened, but I had a friend of mine, a new friend, which was unfortunate. He was a big Criterion collector, and we didn't get to talk about it as much as I would have wanted to. But he passed away. He had a fight with cancer that he sadly
Yeah.
lost a few years ago, and his wife, she wasn't a big film collector like he was. She wanted his collection to go to a good home, and we kind of worked something out. I did give her some for it because I didn't feel comfortable just taking it, but I took most of his Criterion collection, so I got like 100 Criterion titles all at once. So that
Mm.
really like boosted my numbers up. So
Yeah.
and that's another thing where I have a lot of Criterions that haven't seen because of that, which kind of bothers me. I'm trying to get caught up, but yeah, I would say
Give it time.
it's around 400, I think, at this point, if I
So
had
I
to guess.
mentioned before, and there's another Criterion question in a way, but I mentioned before you're getting into boutiques and you're also a film student in a sense. So I know you're getting into Boonwell, and I know you like Psycho, like me.
Oh yeah,
So
Psycho's
big
best.
Hitchcock fan.
Yeah, yeah. Wife is a bigger Hitchcock fan than I. She's that's kind of been one of our things is watching
Yeah.
through those together. She loves crime stories, and that's really her genre. So she's been getting me into it. But I've loved Psycho for a long time. Psycho's
I'm doing this for you because
may always be my favorite.
just have to show you Sir Hitchcock's always looking over
Oh,
my
there he
shoulder.
is.
Um, how about Scorsese?
Scorsese was a big blind spot for me for the longest time
Oh,
because
okay.
obviously I'm younger. Like his big ones were coming out in the 80s and 90s. I was born in 92, so I was
Hmm.
not watching his R-rated movies when I was a kid, and I just never got caught up. I came from a kind of sheltered household. We watched movies all the time, but they didn't show us, like, my dad never showed me like R-rated movie. I didn't see my first R-rated movie till I was like 17 or something. So
Yeah.
so I'm playing a lot of catch up. Like that's
That's good
what
though,
is what it's
because
been.
it's like it's fresh and it's new to you. But I know you
Yeah.
do know of a certain Uncle Marty title, so please tell the people about the greatness of After Hours.
Yes, After Hours. I'll talk about After Hours.
Please
After Hours
do.
was a recent discovery. It wasn't until the Criterion came out. Like
Hmm.
I had heard a little bit, like there was rumblings when it was about to come to Criterion, and I was like, I've never heard of this. What is this? Because you've usually heard of most, even if I hadn't
Right,
seen him, I've heard of most of his movies.
right.
And people were talking about it like it was, and even with all that hype going into it, like I was usually when that happens, it's like, oh yeah, it was good,
Yeah,
it was good, but it was great. Like it was exactly my kind of movie. It's just like an anxiety fueled like dream sequence of a movie. Like it's some people don't like it. My wife didn't like it. She has anxiety and it was too real for her. I loved it. Like I love that kind of Alice in Wonderland, like down the rabbit hole, fantasy, nightmarish, surreal kind of movie.
yeah,
And it's just so much fun. It's exactly my kind of comedy. It's just weird and dark and strange. And I kind of had an experience with that movie a couple years ago when it came to the Criterion Collection because I bought the Criterion, I watched it with Grace. I
hmm,
immediately invited my other friend Evan over. I showed it to him. I went to the theater and watched it in the theater with John, who you know from the channel.
yeah.
I got to watch it. That was the best experience because they didn't start it till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Nice.
So it was dark and we didn't get out till like midnight, and it felt exactly like you're in the movie. It was great. Watching
Yeah,
it with a crowd was awesome. So I watched it 4 times the year it came to the Criterion Collection.
that's
Like
awesome.
I love that
My
movie.
story for that is I know you recently did a order, actually two orders between Orbit DVD and Diabolic. Check out that video as well. But I had just got tired of waiting for the upgrade to happen, at least to Blu-ray, because they're talking about stuck on DVD. That was one of the ones that was stuck on DVD. and I ordered it. It was like I was trying to make up like just another movie to complete the order, and um, it was like less than 3 days later. All of a sudden, it was like we got the announcement. So I went to cancel the order, and the person said, "I'm sorry, you can't cancel the order for After Hours DVD. You're going to have to keep it." And I was like, "What?" And it was like, "Just playing with you. A lot of people have, canceled their order. We know the Criterion's coming out. No problem. We'll just credit you the 9.95 or whatever it was." So
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, those guys are awesome.
they
I've
are.
only done one. Actually, I did Diabolics, and they're great. And
Yeah,
they
definitely
send
great.
me they send me the Def Crocodile titles now, which
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for because I love that label. They're
And
so
those
cool.
guys are great too. The two guys that run Deaf Crocodile, they're always in the, at least one of them is always in the chat on Thursday night on the Disconnected. So if
Oh
you ever
yeah.
had Deaf Crocodile questions, or maybe you'll get to the point where your collection's big enough, you could get on the podcast with them and just talk titles. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I just recently found out about them because they were on a commentary for one of the Def Crocodile titles for Feel a Day, and I was like,
Yeah,
I gotta find out who this guy is.
yeah.
He's
That
super
thing
awesome.
sold out so quickly.
Oh, did
That
it?
little animation about the cat. Yeah, people love that thing.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah. So, your expert advice. If someone wanted to start a Criterion starter pack and not
Mm.
necessarily go for all the low hanging fruit, what are some titles that you would include? Don't give me Seven Samurai and, don't give me the Criterion Closet favorites.
Jeez, that's a tough question. See, if I knew this, I would have done a video about it. Because
Hey, free
that's a
content. There you
that's a
go. I
great
just gave you some
video
free content for the future.
idea. I guess I'll just have to look back here and see what jumps out at me.
There you go.
I go to my two staple directors that I feel like if you're intimidated by the Criterion Collection, or it's not, if you feel like it's too academic for you, the two that I started with and the two that I think are more mainstream to a degree is Wes Anderson and Guillermo del Toro. I think those two have broken out and they've made more mainstream movies. And so if you want to, I think their filmographies are kind of a gateway. At least they were for me as like a younger guy. When I was in college, I started watching Wes Anderson movies. Guillermo del Toro, I watched Hellboy 2, and then I was like,
Hmm.
wow, this guy is amazing. And then I went back and started, watch his earlier stuff. Pan's Labyrinth is in the Criterion Collection. Devil's Backbone is in the Criterion Collection. Chronos, all three of those are
Yeah.
really really good. So if you want to start with the director that you're like comfortable with, or Scorsese, like you can start with those. But I think what Criterion is really known for is the international stuff. So you got to eventually,
Yeah.
if you don't like subtitles, you got to get over that because there's way too many movies.
True.
Like Bong Joon Ho said, you're letting a little 2-inch barrier keep you from some of the best cinema in the entire that's
It's
ever
so
been
true.
made.
So
So
true.
there's so much stuff. I've fallen in love with French cinema since I got into the Criterion Collection. There's so many
Mm.
good French movies. Watch Jacques Demy. If you haven't watched Jacques Demy, if you love musicals, he's made
Hmm.
the best musicals ever made. If you like La La Land, it's just ripping everything from Jacques Demy. Like
Doing his movies straight
go,
La La Land.
yeah, go watch Jacques Demy. Go watch Young Girls of Rushmore. Go watch
Umbrellas.
Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I maybe start with Young Girls because it's more fun and upbeat. And then if you want to have your heart ripped out, then you can go watch Umbrellas. But I love Jacques Demy. I am a big fan of the early stuff, like the silent films. Like they've got some really good Chaplin films in the collection.
Hmm.
They only have one Buster Keaton, which is a shame. I wish they had more of that.
Yeah.
But then they have some really great Harold Lloyd films in the
I was
collection.
just about to say you got Harold Lloyd in there.
Yeah. I really like the Czech films that are in the collection. Not as many as I wish. You got to go to Second Run and some of the other labels to get a bunch. But the Carol Zeman box set, if you love animation and mixed media, stop motion animation, or just fantasy adventures in general, like if you're a big fan of Jules Verne, like you got that Carol Zeman box set. That's the first thing I ever bought from Criterion's website was that Carol Zeman box set.
Oh
It's
wow.
so much
Yeah.
fun. Um, yeah, I could just keep right. There's so many. Like we just did
There's so
Noirvember.
many.
We did Noirvember last year. There's so many good noirs in the collection. Like
Hmm.
I finally watched Rafifi. Speaking of French films, I finally watched that. There's Pickup on South Street. There's Third Man, like we just mentioned. Like,
Yeah, if you could find it.
well, that's out of print, yeah, but I did find that one, and that's why I'm hesitant to buy the Curzon because I spent so much on the Criterion Blu-ray. But
Yeah,
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 there's a bunch.
so true.
Just find your niche, and it's there. Whatever you
Yeah.
like, just that's what I did. Like you can go to the website and just kind of search. That's what my gateway was fan. I looked for fantasy films. I was in a Criterion group, and I was like, hey, I just asked, like, is there any like fairy tale fantasy kind of films in the collection? And a bunch of people gave me a bunch of recommendations. There was also a collection on the Criterion Channel, which is their streaming service, called like Dark Fairy Tales. And
Hmm.
instantly I watched Black Moon, I watched Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, I watched Uketsu. Like they have those curated collections on the channel, which I really recommend their channel. That's the only streaming service I really recommend is that one.
Yeah.
And they have it's the only like Netflix has those weird categories that are like super obscure, but
Hmm.
Criterion's categories are very curated and very helpful, and I really like those ones.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see, a couple more comments, and then we will ask you one more question and get into the five takes. Going back to the upgrading, pop culture ads, I do upgrade. It depends. Bourne movies look great on Blu-ray. Didn't see the need for the 4K. I didn't have most of them. I think I only had the first one, but then I got the Bourne box set. I think it's somewhere. I think uh, uh, that might be it right there. Can't really see with the light reflection, but I think, yeah, that's Bourne. So certain ones, you're right. If you already have it, it may not be worth the dip. But let's see. Hey, Steve, good to see you, man. DJ and Grace do great. Criterion, Barnes and Noble hauls. I agree. Check out Kyle's movie collection and his Criterion collection, over 600. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Someone else with a lot is Blu-ray Dan. I think when he actually got a chance to go in the mobile Criterion closet
yeah, I
when it
saw
was in New
that.
York, and I think at the time he had 540. I'm sure it's more than that. He's going to be on soon, so looking forward to having a conversation with him.
Yeah, he's
Finally,
awesome. And I do know Kyle. I follow Kyle. He's great.
yeah. KB, do you honor the Criterion numbering system? That's something for both of us, I guess. Having to mention the number in your reviews. I don't adhere to it. Like my collection, I'm an alphabetical guy, but I'm also a format guy.
Hmm.
So I have like 4Ks, Blu-rays, and then the few DVDs that I still have because like certain movies I prefer that it has that old school low pixel look, or some of them just never got released on Blu-ray or 4K. So like I saw you recently picked up Haxon. I still have my Haxon Criterion DVD because I still remember getting that and being excited to get into like this crazy silent film.
It's so cool.
It like you said in your review of it when you got it, there's so many different ways that you could look at it, whether it's as a documentary, as a silent film, as a horror movie. It's all these things and so much more. Let's see. Yes, I know he's a baby compared to us, still. I still have the stereo system I bought in 91. Hey, I still have, this is funny. So I still have the alarm clock that I got when I went off to college in 88. And I said, you know what? I use my phone, I use my AirPods, I got a little stand, and now with the iPhone, you can turn it sideways. It's an alarm clock. And I tried it for a week, and my wife said, "You know, I kind of miss looking over to your side of the bed and seeing the time in the middle of the night when I get up to use the bathroom." So I had to plug back in the thing. But you know what? It's a Sony Dream Machine from 1988, and it still works. That has something to say. You don't get a lot of things from the 80s that still works, or the 90s, as you put here. How many movies do you guys think you have? I don't I don't know. If I have to say just between DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4Ks, somewhere around 1,500. I would, once again, like you said, I would have to look in the app for an accurate number. And it's still not totally accurate because I know many a times I've done like a whatnot haul or, probably went to some thrifting place and I just put it on the shelf and didn't put it in the app. So
Oh, okay.
that
I
one day I'm going to go through and make sure everything is scanned and put in there. But one day hasn't come yet.
Yeah, I do know this because I crossed that a little while ago. I just crossed 2000, so I'm at like
Nice.
2015 or something like that. So, but
Nice.
I'm hoping to get back under 2000 by selling off and getting rid of some stuff
Yeah, a
because
little consolidating. Need the
yeah,
space.
that's a lot. That's a lot. I need to shrink that down a little bit.
Yeah, I keep looking around down here. I'm like, I could put another two, three shelves, but then it gets into that whole thing of how many do you really need to have on the shelf? How many can be, like you said, sold off? How many upgrades? Like my daughter will take, if I get a 4K, she'll take the Blu-ray, but not all of them. My son might take a few, but I have like a box that I keep for when people visit, and I'm like, hey, anything in the box is yours. And now I realize I'm doing things like there's Crimson Peak Arrow Blu-ray in there. I'm like, wait a minute. I pay like $5 for that. I got to be a little more selective about what I put in the box. So I could probably consolidate a little bit myself too. I was considering starting my letterbox top four, but I don't think the Naked Gun has made the Criterion Collection yet. Not yet, not yet. But there are templates where you can make your own Naked Gun Criterion Collection cover art. So look into that. Mama Blu-ray in the house. What's up, Bonnie? Thank you for joining us. Always good to see you. Adding some more Criterions, less stuffy Criterions to get. Thelma and Louise, good. Deep Cover, good. Love and Basketball, good. Those are like entries, I would say. Like, there's a difference between entries and starter kit. I I love all of them. I actually have all of them, but like DJ was saying, the the really good part of the collection is when you could actually cross over and get into the international market. And I think, like you said about Guillermo, that's definitely a good one because you'll get comfortable with like whether it's The Shape of Water or one of those, and then all of a sudden you have to read subtitles for another one of your favorites, Pan's Labyrinth. So,
Hmm.
you know, good question. What are your most anticipated upcoming 4Ks for this year? Well, I just named two of
Ooh.
them, the Blaxploitation Classics Volume 1 and the supposedly Nightmare on Elm Street Steelbook box set. Um, Pretty much from that, I don't have any money left over after I buy those two for the year. It's hard to say. I don't know about you. What do you think?
Yeah,
When we
just
get announcements and it's only just like a few months away, it's hard to say like we know something's coming out for sure in October. You know,
I,
it's like guesstimate.
well, the only reason I have this, I got my little notebook here.
Nice.
I did a video on this, so I have
Mhm.
all my answers written down right here.
Please share.
And one of them we'll talk about in a minute when you ask me the five questions.
Hmm.
But there's a little movie called Danger Diabolic that I've never seen, but I've heard about it for so long, and I just watched Barbarella for the first time last year when the Arrow put it out, and this is the same exact time period, also based on a comic book, and it's getting a 4K this year from Kino Lorber, so I'm definitely going to pick that up.
Okay.
The Bloody Lady is a really interesting. I think it's a Soviet animated film. Maybe it's Hungarian, but it's an animated film coming out from. I don't think actually. I take it back. I don't think it's 4K. It's just a Blu-ray, but it's coming out from one of my favorite tiny little small labels, Arbalos Films, this month I think. So I need to pick that up as well. But yeah, most of the stuff I'm excited about is only on Blu-ray, unfortunately. But there's a Lion in Winter, one of the best Christmas movies
Wow.
of all time. It's getting a 4K from Studio Canal, so maybe I'll hold off and see if we get an American release. But yeah, there's a few. There's a couple other ones that I'm looking forward to. Winchester 73 was one of them, but that's already out now. So
Yeah,
as soon as we get a Criterion sale, I'll have to pick that one up.
definitely. I was surprised that we didn't get one in February and they did that weird 40% off, including pre-orders. And I was like, I hope this is not in placement of the 50% off flash sale because I normally have my list of what I want and how much I plan to spend on the flash sale because I'd rather do that than more the Barnes and Noble because it goes towards something. You know, the first time you get one of those $50 gift certificates, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, let's start earning the next one. And you know what I normally do is when I get that, I use it to invest in a box set. So
Oh, nice.
Like in November, I ended up invested in,
Oh, that's nice. I haven't done
and
that yet, but
yeah,
someday.
I'd I'd rather do that than say, oh, let me just buy two 4Ks at 50%. That seems a little more, substantial, just to take a chunk out of whatever it is. So whether it's Godzilla, that Pasolini, any of the box sets.
That's what I did
Um,
in the last flash sale. I got the Pasolini set.
yeah, I remember that. All right. I do have one more question for you before we get into the five takes. I always like to show that I've done my research. So,
Uh
did you and Grace ever get high and or tipsy and watch the double feature of Mystery Men and Howard the Duck?
oh. Did we talk about that? Oh yeah. So what he's referencing is we found both of those randomly. CD Warehouse. I don't know if you guys have those where you're from.
I wish I did.
They are a mixed bag. Sometimes most of the time, it's nothing. We don't find anything, especially now that I'm leaning towards boutiques. Like, I don't find much in a city warehouse. Every once in a while, though, you'll find something crazy. And that day was crazy. We found the big Arrow release of, it's right there actually, of The Apartment, the big like box set of it. We also found some just random 4Ks of like the Avengers steelbooks, and we
Hmm.
found Howard the Duck on 4K and Mystery Men on 4K, and not great movies either of
No.
them. But I grew up as a superhero kid, Marvel kid, and it's like, this is kind of fun. It's kind of novel that superhero movies are getting boutique releases. Like Kino Lorber put out that Mystery Man. I was like, that's crazy. So we put them in. We haven't done that. No, we have not done that yet. But hopefully someday. Grace has never seen even a frame of Howard the Duck, so I can't wait to show her that goofiness. But they were pretty cheap, and we just picked them up that night. But no, we have not done that yet. But maybe we should put that on the calendar for sometime soon.
And what would be the libation of choice for when that happens? Good night,
Uh,
Billy Nee.
my drink is whiskey. Grace doesn't like whiskey. She had it ruined for her by the first person that ever made her a drink with it. It was like 5% Coke and 95% whiskey, so she got sick and she can't drink it anymore. But I would go with whiskey. She loves wine, but she usually or either wine or vodka. Vodka's kind
Yeah.
of her mixer that she uses. But yeah, I would love to knock back some whiskey and watch Howard the Duck. I guess I don't. I don't think I've ever seen it either. I think I've seen most of it maybe, but I've never
Yeah.
watched it all the way through. And I think I've seen Mystery Man like one time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what kind of night that's going to be. That's going to be we might have to invite some friends over because it's one of those laugh along
Yeah.
commentaries that you have to
Yeah.
do to get through it.
Sergio just chimed in with music to my ears. He said two words: Buffalo Trace. I actually went to the distillery a few years ago, and I really need to get back. That's the place where they also make Blanton's,
Oh, I
and
got some
you
Blanton's
have you
downstairs.
have to go on a certain day when they have it, and they never let you know what the day is. And I think they limit you to like one bottle per person. So I would like pick up homeless people outside and bring them in just to buy me a bottle. But um, I do not have Buffalo Trace in my glass tonight. I poured a couple fingers of Weller Special Edition to honor DJ and welcome him to the conversation tonight. So
Hey,
that's
yeah,
what I'm
we could
doing.
talk some bourbon. I
Oh
only
yeah,
get Blanton's from my father-in-law because he has like an insane whiskey collection. He's got
yeah,
like floor to ceiling cabinet, just like tons of. He gives me gifts. He got me some Yellowstone recently too, which is one
ooh.
that I really like. But I like Old Forester. Old Forester is my
That's the other thing I was going to choose tonight. I have a bottle of the Statesman from.
Yes, Statesman is great. There's a wine bar down the street that me and Grace like to frequent on Parents' Night Out, and
Mhm.
they have an Old Forester flight. So it's like four of the
Ooh,
different recipes, and
yeah,
I go through that. That's great. But the
nice.
Statesman's one of my favorite, and also the Prohibition 1920. That one's strong, but it's really good.
Yeah, you don't need a lot of that.
Yeah.
Look, there he is. Old
Oh
Forester
yeah. See,
1920 is
there
fire.
you go.
Yeah,
Hey,
it
well,
is.
this is a different podcast. We got to get
Yeah,
back to movies, but
we got to do that. Talking about that, I would like to have maybe like some type of roundtable discussion about physical media collecting and boutique labels and so forth, because I think if we do a conversation or a roundtable visually, we get into the showing off. But I want people who may not necessarily be into physical media just to listen and understand not only the collecting aspect, but why we would pay for a third man from overseas versus, keeping a DVD that we might have from Criterion or whatever the case may be. So I will let you know because I would love to have you on that roundtable for sure.
Yeah, sure thing.
But in the meanwhile, are you ready for the 5 takes?
I guess this was
All right.
tough. I know these are supposed to be easy questions, but I was like stressing over this.
I know people tell me that all the time. It's like I didn't know what to say. Whatever comes to mind. For those that don't know, the 5 takes are the 5 questions I ask every guest at the end of the conversation. It's the only part of it that's the same every time. So we start as we always do with number 1. Name the film that made you fall in love with the movies.
Okay, so I don't know. Like, I've been in love with movies since before I can remember. So I don't know the original because my family, we were movie people. We didn't have cable,
Yeah.
so we didn't have TV. We just had movies. So, like, every Friday night, we watched a movie as a family. Like, we were just movie people. So I've just, as long as I can remember, I've always been into movies, and I've always been into like special features and commentaries.
Yeah.
At an early age, I started watching through special features, like when all with the big superhero boom in the late early 2000s. I was Spider-Man, X-Men, Hulk, Fantastic Four, all those early Marvel movies. I was watching all the supplements, the Lord of the Rings, hours and hours of bonus
Yeah.
features.
Yeah.
So I've always loved movies, but it was mostly entertainment for me. I was like a geeky kid, so I was into like superheroes and sci-fi and fantasy stuff up through high school. It wasn't until this movie that I was just blown away, and I was like, okay, so this is what movies can be. Movies can be so much more than just entertainment,
Hmm.
and it set me on the path that I'm on now, where it's I crave like the academic nature of watching movies and bettering myself from watching movies. So I will throw this out with a shout out to my wife because she's the first one who showed it to me when we started dating back in 2014.
Nice.
Gosh, over a decade ago now.
It
We
happens.
the first few weeks of our dating was just showing each other our favorite movies, like back and forth, back and forth.
Hmm.
And she showed me this, and now we watch it every single year at Christmas time. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes, I
It
know you were going to
is
bring it up. That's you said that's your all-time favorite, right?
it is the movie that like it's the first. I think it's the first black and white movie I saw. Maybe she showed me this. She showed me Casablanca. Like she had way better taste than me when we met. I'm trying to catch up to her, but she is. Thank you so much for showing me. There it is. Oh, I'm jealous of that. I actually really want that. I only have this crappy Blu-ray version.
Dude, we could
That
we could get it for you.
I really want that 4K. But yeah, we watch it every year, and every single year I cry even harder. Like it gets better. It's one of those movies that the more life experience you get, the
Yeah,
more you appreciate about it, and it gets better and better every year. And that just like opened this whole door of
that's
cinema that came
beautiful.
out decades and decades and decades ago. Like
Yeah,
I went on like a binge of. I started with Christmas movies because I love Christmas. I love watching Christmas movies in December,
same.
and then I started watching other like Christmas in Connecticut and Shop Around the Corner, and like it happened when HBO Max came out, like that
Hmm.
first year that Max came out, 2020, 2020, yeah, and then I had this horrible bout of pneumonia that December, and I was watching like all these old Christmas movies. I was stuck in bed for like weeks, and it just awakened this. Like I started with Christmas movies, then January came, and I just kept going with black and white movies and older movies, and like ultimately that's what started the whole YouTube channel was this love that because I was just getting into it when I started the channel,
Yeah.
and it all goes back to It's a Wonderful Life. So
I have a
got
sidebar story for that. So same thing. We grew up. It would come on like network TV every year, and I think that's how we associated it with being a Christmas movie. And for years, I thought "It's a Wonderful Life" is my wife's favorite movie. So every format I had it. I had it on VHS, I had it on DVD, I had it on Blu-ray, and I got it on 4K now. And I did a podcast with her where she was the guest, and I thought she was going to say that's her, Wizard of Oz, all-time favorite. So Wicked, natural progression. But I really thought she was going to say It's a Wonderful Life, and she's like, I don't really love that movie. I was like, what?
that.
We're,
Hey,
we're married almost 30 years. We've been together how many? I swore this was your favorite Christmas movie. She's like, no. She's like, I would rather watch Miracle on 34th Street than that. I was like, I
Good
didn't know that. She's like, of course, Natalie Wood pulling on his chin. I was like,
one.
wow, I didn't know that. So now I have all these copies of It's a Wonderful Life when I should have all these copies of Miracle on 34th Street. I thought I was just like helping her, always have a nice, but she did like the when the Wizard of Oz 4K came out, and I got the steelbook with Dorothy laying in the poppy field. I was like, look at this. This is awesome. She's like, it looks good. So I
Wow.
do, I know that part is true, but I was wrong about It's a Wonderful Life, but I love it too. So
Wow. All this
um,
time, you think you know a person,
this is what I'm
and they
saying.
don't
You
like
think
It's a
you know a
Wonderful
person,
Life?
you find out so much more about them.
Jeez.
So yeah,
That might be grounds for divorce. I mean, It's a
I
Wonderful
don't
Life.
know. I don't
Uh,
know.
that's a big one.
It happens. Okay, I'm gonna put a little remix on question two, and I know
Oh,
you're not ready for this.
oh, great. I gotta
So,
check my notes here.
besides the posters you have on your wall in your movie room, name five of your favorite films.
Oh, that's good. That's good because I don't think I put any of those on my list because I was trying to, get a little variety in here. Five of my favorite films. So I'm gonna go. I wanted to get a silent film on here. I think I'm
Hmm.
gonna go. I'm gonna go with the comedy, although there's another direction I could go with that. But I'm gonna go with the circus.
Okay.
The Circus is my favorite Charlie Chaplin film.
Hmm.
It is from 1928. It's not one of he does later he does more serious films. This is just one of his straight up like tramp comedy. That's the character he plays as the
Yeah.
tramp. It's just a comedy. Circus is a location that I just love in film. Like if a film is set in that aesthetic, I just love it. So I have a lot of favorite circus films, but this one is just the epitome of great circus films. It has become a comfort movie. It's become one that I pop in all the time. It's become one that I watch with my kids a lot. My kids love this movie. My son got into Charlie Chaplin very early, like when he was 2. He would
Hmm.
call him the funny man. He was like, I want to watch the funny
Aw.
man.
Aw.
So he's seen several. They've seen several. We just watched the Gold Rush a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
when we had a snow day here, and they love that one. But the circus is our favorite. It is hilarious. The stunts in it are incredible. The high wire work he does at the end with the monkeys and
Hmm.
the scene with the lion is amazing. It's just a very simple little fable about this little homeless tramp who falls in love with this circus leader's daughter, and it doesn't go where you expect it to. It's a little more complicated than that. But he's just a wonderful character, and the comedy is great. And I'm a big fan of movies you can watch with the family because I like to include my kids whenever I can. So
Yeah.
so happy that I found that movie thanks to Criterion because I hadn't seen it before then. And the Criterion Blu-ray looks ridiculous. It looks like it was shot like yesterday. I don't know how it looks so good. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you can tell it's a silent film, but it just looks really, really good.
Yeah. That's a departure from like what most people would go with, like Gold Rush or the Kid or whatever the case may
The
be.
Kid
But
is really great too. I love that one.
yeah, that's a good one. What else?
Second movie that I put on my list. I'm not going to do Psycho because we already talked about that.
Right.
I am going to do another 60s film though, and I'm going to mention My Night at Maud's.
I don't think I've seen that.
My Night at Maud's. One of my favorite directors is Eric Romer. He's a French director. He's from the French New Wave. He made films in the 60s and then all the way up through the 90s. He has a famous quartet of films from the 90s that are called the Tales of the Four Seasons, where one takes place in each of the four seasons. My favorite of those is Summer. It's amazing. But I
Hmm.
went with My Night at Maud's because it was the first Eric Romer film I ever saw. It was and it's still my favorite to this day. It takes place around Christmas time, so I like to watch it in December every year if I can. A little
Okay.
cozy film. It's not like a Christmas movie, but it takes place during that time, and it kind of plays into the plot a little bit because it's important that they're on Christmas break that all this kind of circumstance happens. But
Hmm.
it's a real low key, slow paced, very personal film about a man, middle aged, maybe like 30s, maybe like my age now, and he grew up very religious. He's struggling with his Catholicism, and he gets put into this situation where it's a very talky movie. And everything I say about it's going to make it sound like the most boring movie. No one's going to want to watch it, but it is a
We
very
like character development.
it's a very talky movie. It's a lot of all of Eric Romero's movies are just conversations. Like it's kind of like Before Sunrise. Like it's
Yeah.
just people talking the whole time, having interesting conversations. They're talking about Pascal, which is this French philosopher. He runs into an old buddy, and they end up going to this house where they meet Maud, who is this very likable, magnetic female performance, and they. Because of the snow, his friend has to leave, and he just ends up there with Maud all night. He can't go home, and he's struggling with his upbringing and his moral. All of these, most of Eric Romero's films are like morality plays playing
Yeah.
out, and I don't know. I just really connected with him as a character. It's a little bit of a romance, but it's very internal. It's very much from the male perspective. So
Hmm.
he makes very personal movies. So I don't know. I recommend the Six Moral Tales is a box set from the Criterion Collection. If you're a young guy, I feel like all young guys in your 20s and 30s should watch through that box set because it's like I was like, whoa, this guy is me. Like this guy understands exactly how it is. It was
Yeah.
so, I connected with it so hard, and I love My Dad at Mods. It's still my favorite of his.
That's cool. I'll have to check that out. Third one.
Third one, let's talk about this big one here. This is The Fall. Have you heard of The Fall?
Yeah, Tarsem.
The Fall from Tarsem. This is all I have, this Blu-ray. And just this
Yeah,
Blu-ray
I have
cost
that too.
me a lot of money because it went out of print very early. This is getting this is what I was talking about. This is getting a 4K this year from Umbrella, and I have to pick it up, even though it's expensive because it's from Umbrella. One of
Yeah.
my favorite movies. I already talked about Guillermo del Toro. This kind of feels to me like a Guillermo del Toro movie. It's like if Guillermo del Toro made Tim Burton's Big Fish. Have you seen Big Fish? It's that same kind of
That's a good description.
it's that same kind of story where there's an adult telling stories to a kid and taking experiences from their real life and spinning it into this fantastical fable for this little kid. It's everything I like about movies. This is why we make movies. I love, like I said earlier with After Hours, I love allegorical movies. And this is just an ode to cinema, specifically silent cinema, because it has a lot to do with like cinema, like golden age stuntmen. Like I don't want to give too much away, but there's a lot in here. He's a the man telling the story is a stuntman. He's in a hospital. He meets a girl who's there, a very young girl who's sick, who gives an incredible performance because the way he made this movie was they didn't even know they were rolling most of the time. Like he's just the director, and it's a little problematic because there's some scenes where they're yelling at the girl and she's giving a very good performance. But I mean, it's fine now. She's grown up and she's okay with it. But it is. Oh, it's so good. He adamantly wanted to shoot all of it for real. There's so many gorgeous landscapes. They literally like traveled across the whole globe to shoot it all for real. He didn't want any green screen backgrounds. So it's just a gorgeously shot movie. I can't wait to see it in 4K with the Umbrella. Like it's perfect. It's one of my favorites.
A lot of people know him because of The Cell. But
Yeah,
if you
it
watch
just came
The
out.
Cell and you watch that one, you see that there's two things. He has such a master of using color, and it's almost like certain colors become like characters in a sense. Like, you could study the psychology of various colors and how it affects mood and all that, and you see that being used in certain shots and different scenes within his movies, but especially in The Fall. And I haven't seen it in a while, although I have two different copies of it. I have the DVD and I have that Blu-ray, and I hate the fact that we never know what Blu-ray is going to quote unquote go out of print and be worth whatever. So when I see people selling like Dogma for $75, I'm like, you didn't know that was going to be worth $75. Just admit it.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Real quick, I took these down and I forgot to show them, but this is the Circus from Criterion, and this is
Okay.
the Eric Romer box set. That's
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out.
Maud up there in the corner. They have Six Moral Tales. They also just added the Tales of the Four Seasons to the collection, another box set.
Yeah.
from that from
Between the two,
Romero.
if I had to get into Romero, which would you say to lean on more?
Ooh, it depends. Do you want like black and
I'm a
white?
big before trilogy fan, so if
I would
that
go
gives
with.
you
I
any,
would probably start with the Tales of Four Seasons,
okay,
where you are in your collecting. I prefer Eric Romero's Six Moral Tales. These are black and white. These are like I said, little moral quandaries that the characters are in. But the you're gonna love the Tales of the Four Seasons. Very similar to Before Sunset. They're all different romances set in the different seasons, and they're wonderful.
cool.
I will go with my next one. I'm gonna go with Once
Ah, yes,
from 2007.
I love that box set.
This is one of the coolest things. This is a gift from Grace that she gave me for
That's
Christmas
cool.
the other year. I love musicals. I wanted to get a musical on here, and it's March, and this is an Irish movie. I also love Irish movies. Actually, this is like a triple right here because I love. I said I love Czech movies earlier. It takes place in Dublin. It's an Irish movie. It's an Irish director, one of our favorite directors. The one of the leads is Irish, but the other lead, she is Czech. She's a Czech actress. This is
Okay.
an amazing. It's not a typical musical, so if you're expecting like dancing, you're not going to get it in this. Go watch Dr. Me's movies if you want that, because that's amazing. But
Right.
Once is a very intimate. It's kind of like what we were just talking about. It's like the Before Sunrise or Eric Romero, where they're just kind of getting to know each other. There's this chance encounter between these two main characters. The lead actor, I think, is a musician. I think he writes all the songs for this, so it's very
Think so.
personal. The title here refers to the director called it. There's all these once guys, these once men in Ireland. Like there's a lot of them. Like you'll go to a pub and you'll just see all these guys who are like, once I do this, once this happens, once I get here, I'm finally gonna do something. And that's this guy. Like he's a musician, but he's never got off the ground. He's just kind of going through the motions of life, and he's getting over a rough breakup after a long relationship, and then he meets this character, and it's very similar to something like La La Land, where they are what each other needs at that time in their life, and even
Yeah.
if it doesn't go where you expect it to go, you still needed that relationship at that time, and it's kind of about following your dreams. Very similar to La La Land, but it's so downplayed and low key and just raw. Like the singing is so good. Like they're actually singing, and I don't think they're lip syncing. It
Yeah,
feels
it's
real.
moving.
It's very, yeah, just very personal. It's a perfect movie for me. We've watched that a lot. Like that's one that we keep going back to. That's one of my favorite film soundtracks. Is that whole soundtrack? One of the songs from that movie kind of blew up and was on the radio everywhere. So some people might know that one, but most of it is kind of music that you never heard of. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
just such a good musical. Unconventional musical, but very, very good.
Cool. Was that four? Or you got one more?
One more, I will throw in a Wes Anderson because I mentioned him earlier. And another genre of movies that I really, really like and connect with all the time is coming of age stories. So I'm going to go with my favorite Wes Anderson movie. Oh, I forgot this actually I have a poster. So
I was about to say you got that poster up.
I'm not supposed to do this, but
Moonrise Kingdom.
Moonrise Kingdom is, and I could talk about any Wes Anderson movie really. Like
Same.
French Dispatch is another one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, and another French movie, like very, very French. But Moonrise Kingdom was the first Wes Anderson I ever saw. It is what started it all, and it is a coming of age story about these two awkward preteens. This is kind of like the only kids movie like that I've talked about tonight. Older kids, not young kids, but it is just a beautiful coming of age story by Wes Anderson with these awkward teens that don't fit in anywhere. But I think it extends past just coming of age, like because we've all felt just completely out of place or like we don't belong in a certain space in our life, and these kids are. They just need, again, it's that same thing where they just need each other during that time period. And it's got maybe my favorite film score of all time. Alexander Desplat does a lot of Wes Anderson stuff. That film score I've listened to probably more than any other film score because I used to listen to it in college while I was working because it's such a great film score. It's like a throwback to 50s, because it's got like the kid like rattling off all the instruments as they play. It's like a throwback
Hmm.
to the Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra, or like one of those track albums for kids to just like teach them about music. And it's such a good score. I love the 50s like Boy Scout aesthetic. It's almost like a summer
Yeah,
camp. Like everything about that movie is so. I mean, that's Wes Anderson. Like all of his movies
yeah,
are so aesthetically pleasing and
yeah.
delightful to look at. So
I
that's
always
great.
say that he's the love child of Hal Ashby and Stanley Kubrick. So you get a little bit
Oh yes.
of that kind of nuttiness that Ashby had in his like Harold and Maude, Sage, and all that. But then you get the obsession and the symmetry of a Kubrick movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's great. That's a
it's
great. And
crazy.
Harold and Maude could have made my list too. That
I
is an amazing movie. Like
love that movie.
that's another all timer for me. Yeah. I'll. It was really hard to narrow it down to five. I was
I'm
like,
sure it is.
what do I want to talk about? But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of all those.
One sounds like Inside Llewyn Davis. It has similar beats to it. It has similar beats in the sense, not necessarily the folk music, but the original music and how it's like the passion behind it for sure. Once is great. Yes, lead was in a famous Irish band, now a solo artist. A lot of songs released on the band album, different takes, both great. Cool. Moonrise Kingdom, also first Wes Anderson on the earlier question. Definitely one of the first movies that made me love movies. That's cool. That's really cool. Um, Steelbook and Lenticular Hearts box. I'm sold. I need one.
Yeah,
There's a lot of them like that, and it doesn't have to be like like what do they call it, a one take or whatever it is.
yeah. This is a full slip.
Full flip. Yeah,
The one clicks are
one
insane. It's like
clicks.
three full slips of the same movie in one box.
I just saw the one that's coming out for the Substance, and I'm like, ooh, I think I just want the Steelbook though, because the Steelbook has both Elizabeth and Sue on it. I think that's cool. Um,
Yeah,
Moonrise
that's a good.
Kingdom, also my favorite Wes Anderson. Yeah, yeah, it's a good one. It is a good one. Let's see. Funny moment in one of DJ's live streams covering new releases. One of the titles was Last Stop in Yuma County, but DJ said country instead of county. It happens. There's nothing like live TV. That's all I gotta say.
Oh yeah, I'm rattling off so many movies on those streams. It's amazing I don't make more mistakes.
And then, trying to remember actors and directors' names, and especially get into the international stuff, you're like, I don't know what that thing is over that letter, but it sounds like this.
Yeah, it's tough.
Everyone's favorite. Number 3, name a popular or classic movie that everyone likes or loves, but you don't
Oh,
particularly like. It's okay. We
I
all
hate,
do it.
I
We
hate
all
being
do
this
it.
guy. But this is just me. It's just me. And I felt this was a really hard question too because
Hmm.
all the ones I could think of, I've only seen once, and I don't
Hmm.
like to write off a movie after one viewing. I like to
Good
give it
point.
another chance because who knows? Maybe I was just in a bad mood. Maybe I just ate some bad dinner or something. I don't know. Like I've had movies where I didn't like them the first watch, and the second watch I loved them. Like so, I don't like to write off a movie after only one viewing. But this one I've given many chances. Would you
Okay.
say? This
I
one I've
said, do it.
no. Well, people are going to be annoyed at me for this because I'm going to be a jerk, crapping on a harmless, fun movie. But it just doesn't work for me. I've given it many, many chances, pretty much every year at Christmas time. I'm talking about a lot of Christmas movies for some reason, but it's Elf. It's
Oh,
Elf. I don't know
I
what
thought
it
you were going to
is.
make a friend in Dell and say Home Alone because he hates that
Oh,
movie.
he hates it. Oh, well, that's crazy. No, it's Elf, and it's like
Yeah.
I don't understand why it should be my thing. Like it's throwing back to like old stop motion animation, which I love.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little fairy tale. There's something about the way it's made that I just can't get on board, and it drives my wife crazy because my wife loves it and she
Yeah.
watches it every year. She doesn't want to watch it with me anymore because I ruin it. But I don't know what it is. I can't. I don't find I don't find it funny. I can't get invested in it. It's like I can't get the tone is off for me. Like I can't, it's totally all over the place. Like it's trying to be like in some parts it's like super sentimental and sincere, but then it's also trying to be
A goofy movie.
like I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say raunchy, but it's trying to be like a SNL skit comedy. Like I can't get
Yeah.
into it, and I know everyone else loves it. So I I'm always, and I don't like talking about things like this because I don't like being the party pooper that's like ruining it. I'm not trying to.
It's okay.
I'm glad that people love it.
It's
I just can't get
okay.
into it.
What's this about charade?
Oh, charade? No, no, I don't hate charade.
No, you
I
tolerate it.
I liked it. I liked it. I'm just not the big. I'm not the biggest spy movie guy.
Gotcha.
It's not my thing.
See,
But
he says Alpha over Home Alone.
wow, he really hates Home
Yeah,
Alone.
yeah. Oh boy.
But I
Let's
remember
see.
like even in high school, like
Uh-huh.
we had like a party or something like in high school, and they're like, oh, let's watch. It was like Christmas time, and they threw on Elf, and they were all laughing. And even then, I was like, I hate this movie.
Let's flip that. Let's go to number 4. Name a critically hated movie that you love.
Okay, this one we're gonna go, and this one was really hard to find something. Like I had my letterbox pulled up, and I was like going down every one and look because I don't really keep up with critics, so I didn't really know this. I didn't
Yeah.
have one for this, and I was like going to Rotten Tomatoes, like, okay, this is good, this is good, this is good. I couldn't find any like critically. Finally, I found one, and people are crazy because this is great. I don't know what people are talking about. This has like a 40 something on Rotten Tomatoes. It was rotten. It's a Life Aquatic. What?
I I
What?
I
People
think
don't
that
like
was
Life
the first
Aquatic?
that was the first Wes Anderson Criterion I bought. I love that
It's
movie.
great. It's so
I
good. I
love
don't.
that. I think I asked for it for Father's Day or something like that, but that was the first Anderson movie that I got.
Oh,
No,
it's
what
such.
am I saying? I take that back. My very first Criterion was Wes Anderson. It was Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, yeah. That's a gateway Wes Anderson for a lot of people because it's like his
And then the
most.
second was Chasing Amy.
Oh, well, that's speaking of out of print.
Yeah.
That's an old one.
But yeah, I love that movie. I get it. It's kitschy. I understand everything about it. Even the dude playing David Bowie. I get it.
Yeah, the David Bowie music or like the whole like ukulele soundtrack. It's so
Yeah,
good.
he actually goes out and performs to this day.
Yeah, he's great. I'd go watch him. It's amazing.
Hell yeah.
It's uh it's a I mean it's a father movie. Like you
Yeah.
can't you got to watch a father movie. It's about a man who's like to the point in his career where he feels like he's done his best work and he doesn't have anything else to look forward to. And I found him to be a really sympathetic, great character. It you're always going to get me. Speaking of Carol Zeman, I mentioned earlier, he's referencing Carol Zeman like when he's doing all of the underwater creatures in like a stop motion. Like he doesn't use any CG in his movies. He likes to do stop
Hmm.
motion. Like all of that is like straight out of one of Carol Zeman's movies. He does a Jules Verne adaptation, and it's got like an underwater submarine scene, and he's
Yeah.
referencing that. That got me right from the beginning. Like the soundtrack is great. It's one of my favorite Wes Andersons, and I was shocked to find out that most people don't like it. I was like,
Yeah.
what
So
in the
was I.
world?
Couple more comments and then we'll get to our final question here. DJ watching Elf at a Christmas Party as a child like George C. Scott in Hardcore. Have you seen Hardcore?
I have not. I don't even know what that is.
I'll just say it like this. It's this very religious man who leaves his Midwest home to go find his daughter who ran to LA and finds out she's involved in the porn industry. Very complex.
Yeah, I felt
Um,
betrayed by all of my friends for putting in Elf. I was like, what are we doing?
Live Aquatic first, Wes Anderson. I saw. I didn't get it, didn't like it, but I feel it should. You should rewatch it. You should
A
rewatch
lot of
it.
Wes Andersons you need a second watch. The first time I watched Grand Budapest, I didn't like it, and then now it's like one of my favorites of his. Same thing
Hmm.
with French Dispatch. There's like a zone you got to get into to get into his stuff.
For sure. Yes, he is big on animation, but is he big on anime?
Not at all. For some reason, I totally missed it. Like my generation is huge into anime. Like all the
Yeah.
people that are my age, I totally missed it for some reason. I guess my friends in school just weren't into it. I never got into it. I've gone back and watched some of like the Studio Ghibli films.
Hmm.
I really like those. Watching some of those with my kids, but I can't. Well, one of the big things is I don't do TV. I can't do TV. Like it's too much of a commitment.
Yeah.
I need my story. I need to sit down and I need my story to be complete in one sitting. I can't
It
do
takes
this
a lot for me to get into
serialized
a
thing.
TV show. My wife and my daughter will binge watch shows. Like they go through your CSIs and your SVUs and your British Bacon shows, and I'm like, I could probably every 6 months I pick up one show and I watch it. I'm done. I'm done for another 6 months. Like I watched Baby Reindeer last year. I watched all the dragon shows,
Oh yeah.
and then that's it. I'm
Yeah.
Penguin. I haven't watched yet. Shogun didn't watch yet. Twin Peaks will probably be the next show I get into because I ordered that set and then like hours later I heard about Lynch passing. So
Oh
I'm gonna
wow.
enjoy that. I'm gonna enjoy that.
Yeah,
All right.
I can't do TV. It's and those animes are like 50, 60 episodes.
Yeah.
Like
I see when my son visits and I see him logging into his Crunchyroll account and I'm like, oh Lord, I lost him for the night. Don't even bother. Don't even bother. He's gone. And I don't know. It's a commitment, like you said. I want to thank you for coming on, my man. This has been a pleasure. I
oh yeah.
enjoy I enjoy you. I enjoy your channel. I enjoy your hauls. So this is like a culmination of all those things. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. I love to see you grow. I love to see your channel grow. Oh my gosh, Tiana, you just got here. We're finishing up. We're about to call it a night. But please, anyone who came in late, watch a replay. If not tonight, another night. I will do this before I ask the last question. I will let everyone know once we're done here. Please go over and check out Mid Level Media. He's doing a Ask Me Anything and showing you what he got in his Shout Select sale. So definitely go and give Ken some love. But as we get ready to land the plane, I have one more question here for DJ, and that is number 5. Now that you've been on the conversation, number 5, who would you like to see me have a conversation with on this channel?
Okay, this was tough for me, and I hope you haven't already had this person on because I'm gonna feel very foolish. But have you had David Blakesley on?
No.
I love David Blakesley, and I found him through TikTok.
Okay.
He's just started doing YouTube, but he is mostly known on TikTok. He has a much bigger account over there. I think he started doing YouTube now because it's all like up in the air if TikTok's gonna last or not. But he is an older guy, and he is just super knowledgeable about the Criterion Collection. He has a full podcast called Criterion Reflections,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the only person I know who is received Criterions from Criterion. Like they sent him promo copies, which they famously do not do that.
Yeah, they haven't done that in over 10 years.
And he's been getting them lately. He's just sharing his thoughts. His Criterion Reflections podcast is like hundreds of episodes now. He's going through the entire collection like in order, like one at a time. And he's just a super laid back guy. He's a part of like a film society where he lives, and he does like I think he works at a theater and like curates films, and he's
Mm-hmm.
just super knowledgeable. And I learned so much about him, and he knows so much about the history of Criterion and all the ins and outs of how movies get chosen and the people that choose what is going to get chosen. I've learned so much from him, and I want to give him a boost any way I can because his YouTube, his TikTok is bigger, but his YouTube is real small still. So
Yeah.
I would love to see him get all the recognition he deserves.
Talking Criterion once again, are you ever going to bring back the podcast?
I don't know. See, the problem was I did that. That was a very specific show that I did with a friend of mine, and
Yeah.
he's just so far away, and we have technical problems. Like he doesn't have good internet, and it was just becoming a problem. Like it would take a lot of editing every week because his call would drop, and there would be a lot of audio
Mm.
mistakes. And I would love to start a podcast with someone that I live around that we could. Me and John have talked about starting a podcast. Me and Grace have talked about it. So maybe a podcast, but I don't. That was me and Connor's thing, so I don't know if I
Yeah,
want to bring that one back.
I hear you.
Unfortunately, because I love doing that.
I hear you. Well, like I said, I will hit you up to come on my audio only podcast just to
Absolutely.
talk physical media collecting, especially when it refers to boutique labels. And I'll get a couple other people involved that I know are definitely into that, especially as you're getting more and more into different labels, whether it's 101, 88,
Mm.
Curzon, whatever it is. So I would love to have you on as a guest on there as well. So with that in mind, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, hanging out with us. It was a great conversation. Please check out Films by Color. Search for it anywhere you want. I will have the link tree up in the description in moments because I thought I did it before I came down here, but life gets in the way. But yeah, check out DJ stuff, good stuff. Check out the stream on Monday nights. And as I always say, go watch a movie. It's a great time to do that. Or go to Ken Ken and check out Mid Level Media on his live stream. Have a good night, everyone.